what we hope Austin is known for in 10 years. And I'd like Kate to start us off with that because it ties into all of her other thoughts about sort of sustainability of the industry overall.
Yeah, I think I hope that Austin 10 years from now continues to become a space where what we can imagine can be made real over and over again, where the ideas are met with real viability because of how we have created the city to be self-sustaining and to support itself. I think that, I'm really struck by this idea that beauty is life enhancing and a right that every person has. And I think that when we're in a time where commerce and productivity seem to be the only measures of success, that the pursuit of beauty becomes a revolutionary act. And I think that Austin is, by its very nature, a pretty revolutionary place. And so I think that that's something that we should simply continue to embrace and pursue and find ways to make it naturally continuous, find the continuous motion in that pursuit. And that will come through a lot of intentionality and a coming together of a lot of people. And it's starting here.
Yeah, I love what you said, Kate. I think to make Austin great in the next 10 years, it's about us having like a big idea. And in order to have a big idea, we need to be brave. We have to be brave in the fact that we know who we are and who we want to be. And then we have to know that maybe we don't see the end to it, but there's a future to it. So that it's beyond ourselves. And in order to do that, we have to make small incremental steps to make that future. It doesn't have to be instantaneous. We just have to be able to have the vision to plot a path forward that we can take each steps and know that it's moving us in a direction that is better for just not us, but like our future generations beyond us. And so I think that it just takes knowing who we are again and a real intentionality, bravery, and diligence. And it's going to take a community that's willing to support that.
Oh man, I was joking about this that I haven't lived in Austin for too long, so I might not have like the street cred to answer this, but maybe that's like a good perspective on what drew me here from cities like New York, and it's as cringe as this might sound to like the old Austinites, I guess, is the sayings that I kept hearing as I thought about moving here was like the keep Austin weird, and then y'all means all. And I think those are like overused potentially, but also just really great because I think it highlights like this idea of like almost innovation, of maybe that weirdness is the innovation and experimenting. And then the y'all means all, like to your point, is just like the inclusivity part of it. So I do hope that as we see so much rapid change in our cities, I mean the street that I live on has changed so much in the last like 3 years that I've been here. That I hope that DNA of it remains the same.
Yeah, I think I kind of touched on the fact that I hope, in 10 years that we're still looked on as a city that other cities want to know what we're up to, that we're still finding creative solutions to the big problems, not just the pretty, but the real issues facing our city, like affordability, and I just join on and on about that, but it's such a major issue, and it's going to affect all of our homes and our commute and our kids and our, it's like everything. And I hope that we survive that in the pressures that we have on us as a city in ways that show how our collaboration and our creative thinking and our entrepreneurship and our care for our craftspeople and mentorship programs and apprenticeship. All that comes together to create something really meaningful that isn't just talk. It's a really true example of how to solve things in a really human way. That's what I hope. But I do hope that we are still saying those like kind of cringy things because it's true. Like I don't just want to be another, big city that's all of the flashy stuff. And that's why I'm also excited about the way marketplace isn't just the same old thing. Like I don't have to come here to buy things necessarily. It's about seeing and exploring and understanding, the access to different vendors and being reminded of that, and then knowing when I meet, different people who work with those companies that we can grow into something bigger. I don't have to see it all here to know it. And I kind of love that we can even make marketplace and our design community something that's unique to us.
I think all of us feel that the best parts about Austin and what really make Austin are the spirit of innovation, of imagination, creativity, and collaboration. I think one funny thing that Can just reminded me of when he mentioned the Keep Austin Weird thing. If anyone spent time in the Pacific Northwest, Portland also claims Keep Portland Weird. And up there it's a big competition of, no, we had it first, we're Keep Portland Weird. In fact, it was Austin first, obviously, but no one down here cares at all. And that's kind of emblematic. We're like, fine, we've got other stuff going on. And I love that. The other thing, along with the innovation, the growth, the high-class companies continuing to come here and kind of having that collaboration and having that filter and guidance and seeing all that develop in a beautiful and conscientious way. I also think it's so important that we guard our local resources. I think for me, like Barton Springs and Lady Bird Lake are some of our biggest jewels, and I think that's the type of thing that brings so much of us here. And I think, a big part of our conversation when we first talked about this topic was that collision of so many new people coming here, which is amazing, but also kind of keeping that spirit of why we all came here in the first place.
Absolutely. Well, that was pretty inspiring. I had a lot of fun listening to all this, and I'm very inspired. If you all have patience for a few more minutes, we can take a couple of questions. Does anybody have something they want to say or chat with one of our panelists? Okay.
Thank you guys. This was amazing. I really enjoyed it. I think we all did. I think we've already kind of discussed a lot of this, but one of the things that I think I moved here right before you did, Liz. Like I've been here for just over 20 years. One of the things that my husband and I keep talking about is how Austin now feels like 30% more expensive and like 15% worse in a lot of ways. Like it just feels like everything's getting more expensive, and the heart of Keep Austin Weird and all that stuff, I feel like it's slipping away. And our latest example is like we went to our first movie at Draft House since it got bought up by Sony, and we're like, oh, it's not the same as much was a Canadian company. And I guess I just want to put that back to y'all, like how I think we as the design community need to be the ones on the forefront of like grasping onto the authenticity of Austin and not letting it slip away to become more expensive and a little bit worse. And so I feel like you guys have already touched on this a lot, like with, renovating old homes. I think Icon is such a cool thing to like, that could become the new personality of Austin while we're trying to maintain the old. Your notes on like crafts, like supporting our artisans and craftsmen. I just was wondering if there's any other further thoughts you guys had about how can we maintain this amazing personality that does feel like it's like a struggle right now, I think, for the city.
That's a pretty deep one.
Yeah, sorry. I'm like, how do we do this great for the team?
I will say this is not a solution by any means, but there was an article, I think it was by KUT recently, that documented how many people have said that in Austin throughout the years, and I think it was like 1875 was the first recorded. Yeah. So it's a sentiment that, what is it? The best time in Austin is always 6 months before you got here.
That's all I have, actually.
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I would also say that I don't think that's an Austin problem. Like that's a country problem, but I'm not allowed to bring up politics. I was told. But I have the mic. No, we're tight. But no, I absolutely. I mean, I think that that's like you, me, simpatico. I agree. You know, I'm scared of it, and I'm aware that I'm not always helping it. Right. I mean, I know that sometimes the things that we do, I'm speaking out of both sides, and I think that that's the thing that's really come to. I've realized really that there's the work that I do, and there's the community that I live in, and obviously they're not disparate, but there's this whole other, you know, thing that we have to be mindful of to retain. And I guess I just still go back to like supporting the people who are here and the collaboration and like sharing, like we need to share our old stories around the campfire. So that, yeah, exactly. So, you know, I don't know. Yeah, let's meet, let's figure it out.
Anybody else? Neat. So going along with sort of that question, but also what y'all were talking about with sustainability, anyone who's been in this room and heard me say something before, I think that preservation is also about being sustainable and keeping as much of what we have, and I think that's kind of a selling point in some ways of keeping Austin and the things we already have. We've spent the emissions to build the things, they exist. And it doesn't always mean that we're going to be able to keep them, right, in whatever the situation. But I think it's a selling point in, you know, everyone wants to be green. Well, hey, this is green, we have it. Let's keep it. How can we incorporate it into what we want to achieve? And I wonder, how marrying some of the things that you do with the existing, what exists already, to create new. I would be interested to see.
Liz is whispering here that we're going to work on a project together. Thank you for putting me on the spot. No, but it's a great question. I think one way to look at it is like, yes, we should absolutely do the type of work that Liz and you all are doing, and you know, preserving and everything. And then there's also that perspective of like, we do need to build more. And I think in this era of building fast and also having to build more and also having to build more quickly, we can't lose sight of the things that we maybe were doing back in the day that allowed those things to remain today. So building homes that are like more resilient or more energy efficient or are going to last for 100 years and don't just look good for the sale. Those are really important things. In the way that we work, we're obviously creating new types of projects, but one way that we maybe preserve the local aspect of things is the trades we use. So after we build the walls, we completely depend on traditional ways of building, and those are all local trades. I'm very much involved with Community First Village project, where we're doing 100 homes for the formerly homeless, working with MLF. And I think there's one trade that flies in from Tennessee, but everyone else is from the Austin area. So maybe that's the type of stuff that we can do.
I'd just like to add to just the sustainability thing too, and I think Can has a point. Like the footprint of our local people really help with sustainability, but the sustainability aspect is really about our ecology here too, because sustainability can be a buzzword. It's not just about like specific materials that we just bring in and put in thing and call it sustainable, but like what are our problems that are actually local to Texas, like dealing with our shortage of water and how we deal with the water shortage, whether it's like how do we integrate that or utilize, you know, we have tons of sun here and leverage that. I think there are things that are very specific to Texas and where we live, and to find practices that really work with where we live and enhance those so that, again, sustainability becomes a real thing that we're not just trying to prevent harm, but we're actually trying to like enhance and work with the environment that we live in.
Hi, I was coincidentally at another event this week, and the mayor spoke, and he was talking about innovation. And his guidance was to have a bias towards action and to not get stuck waiting for the next best thing to come around. And so I was just curious, that event was focused on tech in the public space, which has a really interesting intersection to this conversation. So I'm just curious if you all have a perspective on where we don't have enough of a bias towards action, or maybe where we're stuck waiting for the next best thing to come along. That's fine.
Well, so my thing is just find me a property. Have a bias to action. So, yeah.
But boy, anybody, I'm just going to bitch for just a second. Boy, the commercial real estate industry moves slowly. Everything is so slow. So find me a property. Anyway.
Well, I think that's a bit of the answer. I think where we're slow is in the gathering to plan and think, and to be as involved as we need to be in city planning and our commerce organizations, our city planning organizations and associations. We have a tendency within this industry to stay in this industry. And I think that where we could take more action is actually in how we participate outside of it.
That's a great point, actually. Getting involved in the city, going to things outside of SID and all the things that we do that are great, but the people who are going to be, making some of those decisions aren't at the NARI meeting necessarily. So moving outside of that.
Well, I'm just curious because we have a couple of girls here that do work out of state or out of town. I've been installing wallpaper here for 40-something years. I was just curious if it's anything different in any parts of the country. Are they changing things? As far as right here, it's a lot of it. But is there a new theme or a new ideas that are doing anywhere else that you see in any parts of the country? Or is it just the same old wallpaper?
Oh, wait.
Just from having seen projects around the country, I can weigh in a little bit. And I just think the biggest move right now is customization. Hand-painted mural type wallpapers that have been specified to a space are really big right now. I think the biggest thing, and again, this is kind of in a luxury sphere as well, so obviously not everyone's going to be doing this, but I think one of the biggest things right now is just anything custom and personalized. I think that's in Austin too, but it's also something I feel like we've been seeing a lot more in the past couple of years.
I think we're also, I see in some of our projects outside of Austin, though it's not, we see it some here too. We're in a moment where there's a little bit of a not less but more. So color drenching leads to pattern drenching, leads to wallpaper everywhere. So good news. So we are seeing some of that start to happen. And I don't know, I don't see many accent walls anymore, but I do see, instead of millwork along the bottom of a wall, wallpaper instead, trimmed in millwork. Or, we're seeing some differences, but I think that Austin is starting to reject visible drywall, which is fun to see because it means that we get to do more and creative things with all of our wall applications.
Monty had a question.
Yeah. So from each of your perspectives,
Honestly,
From each of your perspectives and from each of your businesses, what in one sentence is your individual pursuit of the future of design in Austin? So from an interior designer perspective, from an architect's perspective, etc. What is your pursuit as the future of design? One sentence, my individual challenge.
Yeah. What is my individual pursuit of
Or your business.
for my business in design? Yeah. I mean, I feel like now I'm just a broken record, but like I'll just be really practical about it. So, some people like save animals, right? They would like rescue animals. Like I want to be the home rescuer. But which I've done. My team. That's my team. Thanks for clapping. But I've done it, right? I did it myself, and then I found investors, and I just did it, and I just sold one, thankfully, so that I can go do it again. And I'm learning every time. And I think that this is why I'm so passionate about what I keep saying about affordability and this awareness that I am not necessarily contributing to that, and that it's awesome. I can do these projects where I take these beautiful, and we have so many projects right now, 1898 in Austin. I didn't even know that was a thing. In Travis Heights, 1920, 1919, 1935. I mean, so many. And we make them really beautiful, and we make them last for another 100 years, and they're customized, and they have, no naked drywall wall. They're beautiful. And so I've done that. I get that. And I want to keep doing it. But I'm not kidding. I mean, I really want it. When I first did this, the last house that we just bought and saved, and I found the architect that was the most different from me that I could find. The person who's like, very contemporary and thinks totally different than me, and that's literally what I wanted to meld together. And it wasn't inexpensive. I learned a lot. But it's cool, and we got a lot of criticism for it too, right? But I think that's what happens when you make stuff. Like, not everybody likes it, and that's fine. But yeah, I am really interested in how could I take saving the primary home, right, the original home, and add on to it, because a lot of times that's what these homes need, right? Like, that's not a single sentence. I forgot about that part. I have invested once. Yeah, totally, comma. And to do it in a way that's affordable. I would like to make work that's affordable.
I think at Icon, it's about bringing affordable, resilient, and dignified housing to everyone that we can.
Dear and
I think for us in a world of like technology and chaos that's always around us, what we really are trying to do is to find ways to celebrate the simple moments in our day, and find a way to, when we come home, it becomes a sanctuary, and that we're really truly designing towards us being able to understand the world around us in a more deep way.
And I think that we're focused on, I would say, relationships, from our relationships with vendors to partners to the clients themselves. That's something that seems to be rising more and more in conversation.
I like that.
My prerogative is to spotlight everyone in the sign industry, every person in this room, essentially, to tell your stories, to let readers and homeowners know, and other client industry professionals know about you on a national level, which I'm really lucky that I'm able to do, and to also foster new talent and try to bring new people up.
Great. Okay, so everybody's getting a little wiggly and probably needs to drink. So, thank you all. This was really amazing. Thank you, GR Pod.